Hey everybody, welcome back to the Benos podcast. And today's guest was none other than Claudio Coldebella from Unics Kazan. He's the sports director there. And we talked a lot about the communication process within the organization, especially between the roles of the head coach and his role, as well as his position that he takes with the players and the things that he does on a day-to-day basis. Also, we talked about the things that he does to organize himself, what he uses on a daily basis. And at the end, we finish off obviously with some ATOs of mine and with some tricky questions that he found to answer in a very smooth way. So please enjoy this. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't done so. Share with friends, with professionals that are interested in this topic, and talk to you soon. All right, Claudio, welcome to the Benos podcast. I refer to myself in third person. Welcome to my podcast.
Benos, thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure, real pleasure.
You know, in my podcast role, my roster, there's currently 4 Italians and 4 Greeks. So now you have to decide which, because you played in Greece, you are Italian, yeah. But you will have to tell me who takes the upper hand here in this roster.
There is a big percentage of Greece inside me. Of course, 6 years there was something that, stay inside you, but a little bit more Italian, of course. But I'm following you. I'm a big fan of your podcast. So I saw my colleagues. I think the last one that I saw a few days ago, I saw Coach Sferopoulos, was really interesting. Congratulations, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I try to do something different. That's why this podcast is a little bit, it's more professionally based. It's more from professional to professional, and I like to have good minds on the podcast to exchange different ideas and different mindsets. And now I just had recently a boxer on, so it was also a different sport and also a different mentality because of the individual sport aspect. But today I will perform surgery on you, and you will decide which organs you think are more important, and we can talk about. But as always, I will dig a little bit and make surgery on your background just a little bit, because you have also a background in playing as well, obviously, but also maybe not many people know as a commissioner of the 2nd division in Italy.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into the profession of the sports director. Then we'll talk a little bit about my favorite topic. You can guess.
Tell me.
Communication.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Of course.
Yeah.
Nice.
In the context of your job, because there's a lot of dynamics behind the scenes that are going on that many people don't think about. And then we will finish with some coaching ATOs. So I will throw some quick hitters at you.
Okay.
So you did play as well. You had an illustrious career, and you started as a professional in '86 in Mestre. But without digging, because there's you can always dig up a lot of things from your playing background. But just to go back, and I asked everybody that, how did basketball discover you?
I think I'm really happy to say that I'm coming from the street on sports, because especially in that days. Basketball was, especially the guys was playing on the street, playground. Could be depends of the season, no? You just there was the basketball, good weather. Let's go to play basketball, or put a net on the middle of the street. Let's play tennis. I'm a big fan of multi-sports. I think it's really useful, especially when you're young, and this helps me somehow. I had coming from a small city next to Treviso. Castelfranco Veneto is my city. I was lucky enough to be introduced to back in that days in Mestre, as you said, a team that really cares about the academy. It was just remember that European sport had a big day, that is '96, when Bosman rules came out and somehow changed the European market. All the players become free to move from country to country. So before that, the clubs used to be the players was property of the club, so was an asset to the club. So you was playing in. So that's why there was a huge investment from the clubs towards the academies, because there was a big production of players. And I was lucky because I went in Mestre in one in one club that really believe in young players, give them space enough. You know, Coach Messina was coming. He did not start. I think his Real Venezia was his club, but of course, even Mestre was one club that was. But Lele Molin was coming from there. I guess I'm missing somebody else. Anyway, it was a good club. Gave me the chance to play, perform. After that, Virtus Bologna saw me, and again, Ettore Messina was my head coach that year. He was his first year as head coach, and was my first year in first division. I remember it was 89. That was a successful year because we won the Cup of Cups and the Italian Cup. So it was really nice to jump in a pretty early years. I was 21 years old to be in a first division in a big club like Virtus Bologna.
What other sports did you play? You said you were multi-sport guy.
When I was young and after I had to stop due to basketball, ski, I really love it. So bicycle, I can have some scarf here thanks of bicycle, but many, soccer, volleyball. I really love all the sports, and I think it's really useful, especially when you're young. Coordination of your body and everything, I think is pretty nice.
Also to avoid injuries, it's very important to have
avoid injuries. And I always say that in the past, I remember the first practice with the strength conditioning coach in the morning, the day after the game, or 2 days after the game, especially after the rest day. And with Coach Messina, we were doing too. Strength conditioning coach was putting a volleyball ball on the court, on the basketball court, and say, let's say, warm up with the soccer. And you could see, usually guys coming from Yugoslavia was always pretty good with the feet too. So you could understand even them, they grow up somehow on playgrounds. And I think this even help you in some situation in basketball.
Absolutely, footwork is integral. But that's one thing. Also, when I was playing in Germany, and also afterwards with coaching, we gave the players sometimes, because we had only one game a week, and like after a while, you have to break up the routine a little bit, and you start warming up playing soccer, and then especially after Christmas break, just to get everybody loose and give everybody the ball. But then you were mostly scared about the American players, because especially American big guys, they're coming in, and it's going to be like hopefully nobody will get injured.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I wanted to continue on your background, but to double click real quick on the academy. You said back then, before the Bosman rule came out, clubs were investing in the academies because it's obviously it was a big asset to have your homegrown players. But in regards to now, how much do you think it's worth investing in your academies these days?
I think still worth. I mean, it's something really important. I still believe that every club has to, first of all, for the community. You have to know that as much kids you have in your academy is going to be future fans, future people that will love basketball. This is a social activity, very important. And I really believe that it's really important to have to invest in academy, because you grow a culture of sports that is really important in these days. And some clubs still doing this.
I think, I like, there's always two sides to it, like how much is the juice worth the squeeze? That's how American will say. But you always need an identity figure locally that fans and people can identify themselves as a local person. If you can grow a player from your hometown and make him your figure, it's going to be worth the investment and the payoff at the end of the day. If not, if you only have average players, you have to always see and take into account that maybe sometimes you have to bring somebody in to groom them in your place, but you always have to observe it's season by season, probably different.
Yes, of course, the ultimate goal is to have somebody from the town growing up and to be one day the captain of the team. This is something that really happened a few times. But to have guys even coming from different countries to be inside your program and to grow up and get in the culture of the club, I think even this is something that the fans recognize it, and they really feel more part of this, of your culture as a club.
So just to go back now on your playing days, you went from Italy to Greece at some point, and you played in AEK and PAOK. that for me initially, always the question is, especially that was in the 90s, right? So what was the biggest adjustment period for you that you see when you changed in that time from different culture with passionate fans as well, from one passionate country to another passionate country? Was there an adjustment period that you struggled to adjust to in the culture? And if yes, who were the people around you to help you the most?
I think yes, the first year was not easy. Let's go back when it was. I mean, it was 96, so exactly the year of the Bosman rule that changed everything on sports. So European players start to change country, move in other teams in other countries. And I was coming from 7 years in Virtus Bologna. I was most probably the future captain could stay it was my club somehow, because we won, we were good. I was playing national team, but I was searching for different challenges, and I move out from my comfort zone. This is something that I always suggest when I have the chance to even talk with some young Italian players, to try something new, try to see something different. In any case, you will get something good. The first year was really difficult. The first year was really moving from Bologna. That was let's say, my home, my team, where I knew all the fans, especially in Bologna, where season ticket holders can have the season ticket for 20 years. You could see all the fans there. You knew all the people. You were one of the guy of the team. Moving to Athens, big city, traffic was something that I faced, different languages. So the impact was in a different culture. So there was a huge impact even outside the court. Inside the court, there was differences. Of course, Greek basketball back in that period was maybe the best league. That was one of the best league for sure in Europe. It was really tough. And I remember the change to be part of 15 players inside the locker room with local players, foreigners. It was not easy. Languages, a lot of things. I had Coach Ioannidis, that was from Alberto Bucci, that was a fantastic coach, to Ioannidis, another great coach, but different philosophy completely. So I had to adjust. I had to pick up things quick. I had to change myself to approach things. It was a big school.
Did you remember the first year that, like you said, like there was a Bosman rule the first time, and did you feel actually the expectation of a foreign player coming to a country as a foreigner and having like the pressure to produce right away?
I switched completely to be a local player with some rules that somehow, let me say, protect you, to be a foreigner player where if you don't perform and quickly, they do not wait to you. Mm-hmm. So that was the pressure that you are talking about, and something that I like it, but of course was a kind of weight on my shoulders. But I mean, everything went well, and I remember that is something that I keep having on myself. It's something that is helping me so much in what I'm doing now. So how I try to help players right now coming to Russia. So American players for the first time in Europe and everything, because I've been through that.
Yes, we'll talk about that more. I like that you have to be a reflective person in order to empathize with new players coming into the country and finding their ways, learning their ways, and you have to give them a helping hand. Absolutely, there's no way of just letting them float around and then they will never find it. But you finished your playing career in 2006 in Milano. The steps that I always also talk to ex-players on here, the steps to prepare you for your retirement, for your next step. Do you remember thinking about it a lot, of what you're going to do next? And if yes, what steps and what lessons do you think you were anticipating to learn?
Thanks, God. I start to prepare myself earlier. That was something that I had friends that somehow advised me to do that. You know, the career of the player is beautiful. I mean, as much as you can keep it longer, is you're living in a magic world. But you stop somehow that you're still very young for what is the society. I mean, I finished 38. Let's say that I keep it pretty long. But you're still young. And you go out there where you have somehow to find something to do that make you, fill that gap, something that you're still missing. Because for 20 years, you're doing a job that, as I said, is fantastic, but somebody else is making your program of the day. somebody tell you what to do, and you are somehow inside a bubble that clubs, everybody try to make it as easier that you can, because you need just to be focused and perform yourself. But somehow I think this bubble, do not help you too much to be prepared for what is next. I think, especially in that period, I think in the last years, through player association, through teams and leagues, I think we make some good steps on this case, to prepare the players for the next step. We still have some job to do, but it was something that I started to work on 6-7 years before. So I didn't know exactly what was my next path. So I remember I got my license to become coach through the Italian Federation. And I followed some courses in sport management in the university. So when I had my summer off from national team, let's say that I keep my summer busy trying to develop and try to get better in what was my next step.
Finding a new identity. That's the
finding a new identity.
Challenge.
Finding a new identity inside, outside the court, with the people that you have around. That's the dual career is something that I always really I put a lot of attention, and I try somehow to talk with the players right now, because there is a lot of desiring from them. How's going to be my next step? Because that 20 years that somehow we create our own pressure is something that you're going to miss it there. You have somehow to make your life go on, but in the right way.
Yeah, people don't realize that other people finish or retire from jobs when they're 68, or 65 or whatever. And athletes retire early, mid-30s, sometimes late 30s. If they're lucky, maybe 40s, but they have still their half a life to live, with the new identity and finding a new job that they do day to day, and they have to find something new that they love. So falling in love with a new profession is difficult. The commissioner job, can you talk to me a little bit about the commissioner job you held in the second division of Italy, and that you not necessarily the description, but like things that you took away from that commissioner job that help you in your job today?
After my experience in Benetton Treviso, that was, I think, the key moment. I think one of the best things can happen for a sport manager to be in. It was Benetton Treviso was one of the top organizations in Europe by far. The way that Benetton family built all the structure there was, I was really blessed to be part of that organization. After that, let's say that professional period of in sports of Benetton that somehow was ending now there is a new team in Treviso and everything, but it was a kind of shock, because I felt like and that's I think a key issue that we still have in the sustainability in sports that somehow we don't have. So I wanted to try something in working in a league, try to understand how could be better things for clubs, leagues. I wanted to have an idea, and I live with challenge. I really like challenges, and so I wanted to be their part and start and try to new ideas, to bring some new strategy on things. It was really difficult somehow, because the second division in Italy was not only the second division inside the league, was second, third, and fourth. So there was almost 200 teams, and put them all together. Try to in some events we were putting them together for the middle term with the Italian Cups in one location, bringing teams, making boards and everything. But you really can understand that every team has his own desire, and it's not so easy to put everybody thinking the same way, to have the same strategy. It was really somehow difficult, but you open up a world that you can understand how things are working at different level.
Yeah. I'm sure you saw it differently. There's probably some mind shift in there where you saw the other angle of the game, and you can start learning to understand different interests, different politics, different mentalities from different clubs, and everybody comes with their own plate to the table, basically.
Yes, This is something that happened a lot in Europe. You can see, the beauty of Europe on basketball wise is that, every country has its own way to see things, as some, I think, differences, are something rich. I mean, it's something that give you a lot. But it's not easy to put everybody on the same page, to have the same desire, same goal, and something that push you. So working in a league make you understand that you have to try to do the things, try to carry everybody on in the same, with the right way, with the right philosophy, to put everybody informed on things. I think it helps me a lot. But at the end, I was missing the basketball side, the court, the result, the pressure, and the feeling that you have when you go to the game. I somehow was perfect, especially for the first year. I was going to watch games, and I was cheering for everybody. I just wanted that the event was going well. But the miss when you are part of a club, that you feel you still have something, like the players go preparing the game, your routine and stuff. I think that's the beauty of sport that keep us really young on this.
Yes, yeah. I had the same sense in a different role when I went from CSKA to the Celtics, and then you watch the team play on TV, and then you're thinking like, oh, like you were part of this for 3.5 years, everything inside, like the dynamics, and you feel like there's something of a team environment that it's not replicable in real life in any kind of other profession. Like you said, you're leaving as a player, you're leaving a wonderful world that you have to learn to forget in one way or the other.
Especially in team sports, that's the beauty of things. You put guys together with different backgrounds, different culture, coming from different countries, and at the end there is a ball that put them all together, and there is a day-by-day work that you have to do to achieve. I mean, it is not easy, we know, but that's the beauty of sport, that you can somehow rebuild in different things of life, especially right now what is happening around the world. You see that you can face tough situation, and you can win against this, just putting things together, just doing the things as a team. That's the beauty of team sport.
Team sport, like, so Kazan. So let's define the sports director position at Unics Kazan, or just not necessarily in Unics Kazan, but like, what do you see the role of a sports director from your eyes?
Even this is very difficult to define the right role, because again, from country to country, from club to club, I think you somehow have to manage the daily routine, try to bring something. I will be always thankful to the president, Mr. Bogachev, our president. He gave me the chance to come here to see this. I play a lot of times in Russia. I had the chance to come here. But to be here, you really understand different things, how is working. I mean, sports is really important here. To win is really important, because every country, every club has a different philosophy with the victory. As you probably know, the word paveda is something that not only the 9th of May during the parade is something important here. So you have to excel. I mean, they give you the budget, they give you the possibility to perform and to be on top, and you have to use it in the right way. And being sport director here is a pleasure for this, because when you have the chance even to, I always said I'm really lucky, because during the practice I can see great players. Thanks of the potential that we have to bring good players, to sign good players. So even that is a pleasure. And after what I'm trying to do is, make the people outside Russia, make the people kind of link, I kind of bridge to let's say that my old European world, to understand how is Unics. Sometimes I go to convention and I talk about Unics, I talk about VTB League, how things develop, which is the philosophy of this area, basketball area of Europe.
So let's talk about practice. I had it later a little bit, but since you mentioned practice, we'll talk about practice, like Allen Iverson used to say. We'll talk about practice. And So you get the chance to observe practice and the best players that are possibly on EuroLeague level. Three things, like I try to see always. I try to find the essential topics to pick apart. But what do you ask yourself before you go to practice? What do you ask yourself during practice, and the actions you take after practice if you saw something you would like to have corrected? So let's start before practice. How do you prepare yourself, or what questions do you ask?
Let's say something before. I mean, in the last 2 years, we have to be alert of everything. This pandemic changed even the answers of your questions of this. I think you have to be alert of everything. I mean, you know that every day something new can come out. And this, at the end of the day, because I'm a very optimistic person, make us better. I try to always to gain something from even some tough moment. We have to organize our job better. We have to be more concentrated on details. We have to organize, and we have to be prepared about possible crisis, because if you get positive case, if you have a player that just have some symptoms, doesn't feel good. So I think that this pandemic really make us somehow better in what we do daily. Talking about practice, I think the best moment is when the guys are practicing, because it's the moment that all the things that you're preparing during the day, talking with the coaching staff and everything is the top moment of the day, when you see all the job that is putting together. So try to see that everything is coming in the right way. Feeling happy when you see players that really embrace the philosophy that you try to give them. And philosophy try to give them is the job. Job is the most important things. We really like players that, come earlier, stay there, like to leave the arena. And that's why our job is even to increase all the assets inside the arena, from the medical part to the nutrition part, the strength conditioning coach part. This is a process that changed a lot. Basketball and all the organization around changed a lot in the last years. So to see all the players, let's say the team family around there that is living day by day this process is really nice. At the end, the 2 hours of practice, I think, is the top.
So you want them to be at the facility as much as possible.
Wanted is not the right word. I think that, like all the things, is something that there is a process that comes. When you see players that they really want to get better, I mean, you can understand from their daily routine, from how they come to use their time in the best ways possible. And personally, I always saw this when there was some successful year. You could see guys that stay after, the guys that stay together, guys that they call coaches are living here all the day. So, just phone call before and coming before. That's something that you really understand. The environment is healthy, because there is desire to be there. It's not like, I don't want to say that, happen, okay, I got there, just I do my 2 hours and I'm leaving. On this, I can tell you that here I saw players during the last 4 years even coming in the night, because we are lucky enough to have our own arena. That's something that we are really lucky. So I saw players coming in the night shooting. Not a lot of times, but it was kind of strange, but it happened.
So you mentioned quickly that you talked to the staff, to the assistant coach during the day before practice. What are some things that you addressed before practice, or did you ask him certain things about players? What are the things that you're interested in?
I think the roles have to be very defined on things. I don't like to step on other roles but people are working with me. They have to know in all the departments. You mentioned communication. You were talking about my 3 years as GM of the Lega Nazionale Pallacanestro. I mean, I'm there to somehow to support, to help, to facilitate some things. And they have to know this, and they know this, that in any case, there is something to manage or to make it easier. I'm there. So
like an example, for example, what?
in anything. I mean, if something is for the trips is not working well, or there are some, I'm there that somehow I can help. We did it, and you have to be really prepared. You've been in Kazan probably. You know that we are not the easiest place to travel, the easiest place to organize the logistic part, especially in the last years with all the visa and everything. And we try with our network, with our thing. Don't forget last year, we have a very, very tough season for all our foreigners. They was not able to bring families here because Russia, the visa for the family members until January 2021 was closed. They could not. So somehow we had to help them. It's not easy. And many different things. But again, I think this is a team job, what we are trying to do, sharing things, communication between different departments is something always that for me is a headache. And in the last year, I tried to work on this, try to build even a platform, try to share, in 2022, we have different ways to communicate, WhatsApp, Viber, FaceTime, I send you an email, I call you. But at the end of the day, we see that sometimes we are losing pieces, and you have to make everybody part of this, everybody informed. And I think that I think we make some improvement in the last years in this case.
Yes, it's between theory and practice always. Most of the time it differs. So I think it's case by case study. Like you said, your sports director job can be different in a different club with different challenges and different people and different culture, etc. So finding the holes that need to be patched is the most important thing for a sports director to see where he can impact right away and bring people together, bring parties together to be on the same page, because being on the same page as a club also helps the team at the end of the day, because the team, the players, the coaches, everybody feels if there's an organization, if there's some waves happening and some inconsistencies, then the whole boat gets rocked sometimes. And I think it starts at the top. Like you said, the club has to be organized and the players have to feel that there's an organization, and then you have a synergy between the two. That's how I understand the job.
Benas, maybe you hear me say a lot of times the word culture. I really believe that every club has its own culture, and depends which club we are. And this is starting from the top. Sometimes we give a lot of importance to players. Sometimes we put a lot of responsibility to them. That is not correct. But I think that everything is coming from the top. You've been a foreigner in another club, the beginning, I was making this example when I first went to Greece, my first experience abroad. You enter the locker room, you are kind of new there, and somehow you are searching where to go, with who to talk that maybe can lead you or can explain you things. For me, when I arrived here the first season, there was a staff that was already there for 1 year, so was helping me. I tried to do the same this year with Coach Perasovic and with staff that was new. First time in Russia working, first time in Unics. So the big job is there to make them feel and try to inform them and somehow link them to the culture of the club. That, especially in the so important position like the head coach, is even try to put the things together and match them.
Yeah, that's no doubt a challenge. I mean, like you have newbies to the Russian culture. You have to find ways to get to know each other really quickly. Organizing yourself. How do you organize yourself? Where do you start when you come to the office in the morning, or does your job start at home already? What's the organizational pattern for Claudio?
This is something that when I start my job 11 years ago, 12 years ago, okay, we forgot to say that 38 years old in Milano as a player. I had 1 more year in the contract. And one day I will ask Georgievich when at the end of the season, you can. But if you want to be my assistant, you are more than welcome. he was very kind when he told me this, and I was not so touchy to say, okay, you want to make me quit from basketball, but I had the chance to be 2 seasons as assistant coach in Milano, and it really helped me to see how you have to be prepared for the next step. Talking about the method that you do things, something that probably is missing when you're playing basketball because somebody else organized the method that you do things. So I think I had to really learn, and the assistant coach job really helped me on this to prepare my job, my day routine, the work of the day. And nothing of this is what helps me more, writing down things, make my schedule of the day, prepare the day and everything. So this is what I start on things that, and after every sports director has his own way. Unfortunately, the last 2 years is very difficult to travel. In the past was, especially when even I was in Italy, in Treviso was easier to go everywhere. In that period, even Olimpia Ljubljana had a team in the EuroLeague. So 2 hours and 10, you are in Ljubljana. 1 hour and a half after Ljubljana, you have Zagreb and all the Croatian basketball. That is really nice. You want to somewhere moving and see teams and talking, see different organizations. I think this is something that really helped me in today's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to do this, especially when we are traveling, talking to people, see different things, see games live, see players live. This I think is what makes the difference.
And for the people just listening instead of watching, Claudio was holding up a notepad, a small black book to where he writes his notes in. And I assume it's for everything from A to Z. As something pops into your head, because I was with Maurizio in Istanbul 2 months ago, I believe, or a month ago, and Maurizio Gradini, and we were sitting down, we were talking, and then something popped in his head. Just randomly, he took out his notebook, and just like that, like his handwriting just in there, just not to forget later. And certain things pop up that are unpredictable. And I think you always have to be ready. Some people type it into their phone. Some people have better memory if they write it down in hand. What are the most reoccurring things that you have to note from week to week? I mean, besides the COVID thing, everything that's happening in the club, but certain things that are happening on the court or off the court, what are some things that you write down the most if you feel like you catch yourself?
Okay, the last 3 years, I'm writing less here, and I'm using Trello as a platform where it helps me a lot. Because all these things that I have, I can share it with the people working with me. Mm-hmm. So on the scouting players.
So you use Trello. You use Trello as a scouting platform, because I use Trello as well for lists.
I use Trello for many things. I use Trello for the scouting. I use Trello for the medical part. I use Trello for the strength conditioning part, where the strength conditioning coach is putting a lot of things there. I use in Trello, as I said, the medical. I use Trello for all the players. Everything is inside there about the players. And I really give a lot of importance in data. I mean, it's really important because, unfortunately, judgment sometimes about season, about players, about an individual is just focused on that moment. And we don't have a lot of memory, we forget. And when you put everything down there, you can see the path that the player is making. So it's not just, okay, he played bad the last game. Let's see what he did before. Let's see how his health situation. Let's see the injury. Let's see how many individuals work out he had. Let's see his medical situation. I mean, when you put that, you have the full picture. After that, I think it's easier to take some decision, make some judgments and everything. So Trello is a huge help for that. Scouting on Trello is something that it helps us a lot. We put there everything. Assistant coach are involved on this with videos, with information that we try to collect. So every time before we sign a player, it goes through a certain process that is there. You can see, and it's really nice to go to see after 1 year, 2 years, and everything. Talking about Maurizio is I'm using Gmail. Gmail, you got the memory there. A few years ago, I had to clean up a lot of things in my email address. I remember that I find out some emails from 2000 that I was without job that year. I was traveling, going around, trying to travel to see different things. And I remember that I sent an email to Maurizio talking about Kostas Lukas. Talking about Kostas Lukas that I saw that summer in the under-20 tournament in Greece. Not the back playmaker, and it's kind of funny because after Kostas Lukas was one of his key players in Fenerbahce. Yeah. And it's nice to have something to, one day I will check all my notebook and see the bad things that I wrote there and the mistakes that I make, but it's kind of nice because some memories, you see what you did before, and I think this helps you. Yeah. If you don't remember something, you go to check it to be sure.
I agree. It's always good to go back into the history and to check yourself as well. Not only check the good things, but also where you were wrong, just to see what you can correct.
Absolutely. And sharing this, and to be afraid to, and let's go back with the relation that you need to have your staff. I really believe in the leadership that you can grow up people next to you. This I always believed was the good job of a manager. Try to leave something after when you're gonna end in that position, in that club, in that organization, to leave something to somebody's coming after you. And the trello that I have here is gonna be for who's next. And I think will make his job easier if you like to use it or not.
Yeah. You want to feel that you left something good behind. You want to feel like you left an impact, that something is there, that it's graspable, it's seeable, and it would hurt if you build something and then when you leave, it just gets destroyed, or if it doesn't get used. I think that would also feel like a little bit of a waste of time if you feel like that it didn't get the rollover that it deserved.
Should be one of the rules, hidden rules of the manager, to leave something, to leave a little bit as you find your job, to make it a little improve, but leave it better as you find it.
Yes.
I think should be one of the rules in this job.
Leave it better as you find it. Yes, yeah. I agree. That should be a job, a goal for every job. You do everything you do. Leave it better behind than it was. Yeah. You talked about scouting a little bit with your assistant coaches. Where do you start when you start building a team? Let's say you start from scratch. What's the first thing that you get the chance, if you get the chance to build your team? What's the first thing you start on?
Something that match with the team that you are, the level that you are playing. I think after especially after some years that you're working in a club, you really know very well there is a past there is a history that you can check, but I think you really know what you're looking for in terms of person, in terms of level of players. It was not easy my first year. That's why I really ask people around me, from coaches, from my bosses and everything. I needed some information that I didn't have, because at the end of the day, you have to be in one league to really understand the level of the league and what the needs of in terms of players. Mm-hmm. VTB was a big surprise for me. There is a lot of talent here. Mm-hmm. Offensive spark, you see, it's not easy to stop some teams. Sometimes you see Aftodor this year, Saratov, how the way they are playing. If you just relax, you're not ready, you can lose easy. Trips are really tough on this. Knowing all these things really helps me today. So talking about Kazan, usually we are trying to always to find guys that really wants to compete, hungry players that do not like to complain, and positive people that, try always to see, and we try to teach them this, coming in new teams, you have always to be focused on the good things, not to be focused on the bad things. It's easy to find.
Yes.
And this what I learned even going abroad. I try to gain everything is good, in the place. I will not try to compare the pasta alla carbonara that they do here of the one that I find in Rome, or tortellini Bologna. No, I will try the borscht, and I'm sure that it is better this one, that one. So I'm focused always on the positive, and this is the message that I try to give to the players, because I think that Unics give the chance to the players to compete. A very healthy club in the financial situation. That's this is another something important, especially how sports is suffering this moment. Even this, I think, is really important for the players. A tough league can be EuroLeague, as we are lucky to do, Euro Cup in the past. I think it's good, and we have to be, players has to be focused on this.
And I mean, you wouldn't compare the borscht in Milano to the borscht in Kazan.
No.
So
I was not eating too many soups in Italy. The truth is that I start to learn here how good is the soups, especially when the temperature is not so warm.
Yeah, it works both ways always, and you have to take the best of both worlds always.
Definitely. That's the key. That's the key.
So talk to me a little bit about, because you talked a little bit about sustainability in the club. Talk to me about big picture versus small picture. The big picture of the club that you said, like, you want to feel your impact that you leave behind at some point, but like sometimes the small picture in the short vision that is important as well. But in terms of sustainability, how do you put these things together? How do you blend the two?
I think this is the key of sports. You see, I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about everything. So the impact of COVID was, I mean, in a system that was already suffering. As I think is under our eyes, reading news and everything, how sports is struggling in the economic part, sustainability. Plus, in Europe, we have even a system that somehow doesn't help you on this, because result. So the winning. In a system that there are relegation. I'm talking about, as you said, from top picture to a small picture, a team that somehow has to keep the league, and do not go in the second division or third division. So in every level, the sustainability is something very important. Plus, in Europe, we don't have. I'm trying to compare for the best model that is the American leagues on this. Plus, we don't have any kind of salary cap that help us. So a lot of times we are just, we have to act in terms how the results and everything. Again, prepare, be ready, prepare things before, try to be prepared, do your homework, try to see what's going to happen next.
Anticipate
things. I think this is one of the key. And I try somehow to compare like the normal company, especially the top companies, they invest in two things most of the time. No, they invest some parts of their budget in research, okay, and development of what they have, their products and everything. I think we have to go back focus on these two things. So when I'm talking about research, I'm talking about scouting. I try to find the players that suit with your organization, because at the end of the day, if you are going to make a mistake there, it's going to impact all the system. It's going to impact the health and the future of the club. Changing a player right now, maybe for some top clubs, is not going to be so big impact. For a small club, it's going to be a big part of the budget. Mm-hmm. So when you're going to choose a players, you have to be sure, because if not, it's going to be an extra budget. I hate the word extra budget. It's something that I learned it when I was working in Italy, and somehow we were using it too easy to say this word. But if you think about it, it's really tough. Yeah. And so be precise. Try to scout in things very good. So invest some money in the scouting. I think every club should, because if you can get a player young that can, in a couple of years, in 1 year, develop and be an important player, and the cost of these players will be sustainable, I think is you made the right choice. The second part that I think is the development, the research, the scouting, the development is try to develop your product, try to make your players get better. And this is something that I bring from, I have to say, thanks to Messina when I was 19 years old, and he Coach Messina he had a huge past history on a youth system, years of assistant coach before he became head coach. And I remember that every day he was working on the fundamentals, working on individual. And this is something that inside the staff today, you cannot miss something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It is really important to have some people that, even for the player, he know that he will go in an organization that he can become better player. And this is something is a win-win situation for both. So going back for your question, sustainability is not only let's have more incomes or the magic word, let's cut down the cost. Let's invest. There is a nice book, The Extra 3%, that is talking about how you can invest just a little part of your budget in things that will affect the big picture of your club.
That's one. There's a couple of things here that I would like to address as well, because there's always a percentage on everything. You give yourself a little bit of an edge just by investing a little bit here or cutting down the percentages of failure in a certain direction. It's always the incremental steps towards success are not really felt at the end. You not felt during the process. You feel the success at the end, but you don't feel that there's like a little percentage here. Like Messina always said also when he was visiting, before he was working for the Spurs, but when he was visiting them and they start their first preseason practice with fundamentals, just going up and down, jump stop, cross step. Like it's very.
I saw the video, beautiful.
That people understand that even the highest of highest professionals, they have to do the fundamentals as well. It's not like you come into the gym as a 28-year-old player and you're already done. You know, like Al Horford was, for example, one of the players that still improved his shooting as his career as he got older. He didn't shoot 3-pointers when he came to the NBA. He became a better shooter as he was playing in the NBA. Then
yes.
The investment into scouting, as you said, that a lot of clubs think that we're scouting as a staff, and then we will decide on the player. There has to be a collective agreement between the management, the coach. Who makes the final decision is also a good question at the end, because the coach has to deal with the player in terms of his system. But also a lot of clubs are neglecting that there are scouts out there who would take a position, who are qualified, and you invest in the scout or in the scouting department that way, where you can eliminate mistakes down the line, because you don't want to be paying 2-3 players that are not on your roster anymore, you know. So like you said, extra budget sometimes is also good. It can also be good to invest into somebody who will make this job very specifically to avoid those mistakes later on.
In a system that is really struggling in the economic part, so we are talking about something that somehow we need it.
Yeah.
And cut down the mistakes, I think, is the goal. You can say, preparing, looking things in advance. Monchi, sport director of Sevilla on soccer, was always saying about, there is a nice speech about the suerte, the lucky, that lucky is a big part in sports, that somehow we always say the name luck. We were not luck, we were luck and everything. I think you can cut down on have some good luck if you are preparing things before, if you are trying to see things where I'm going to go the things.
Yep.
You think pandemic is coming, maybe it's a good idea to have everybody vaccinated. It's a tough topic, but I think
no, you can help yourself to be lucky. You can help yourself to be lucky, and by a
little bit more, at least.
Yes,
a little bit more.
Yeah,
a little bit more. Yeah.
So we're gonna shift gears and go into communication, because we also talked a little bit about the head coach, and I would like to address several positions in the staff or in the team as well. But let's start with the head coach position in terms of communication. So what's your relationship with the head coach in a day-to-day basis? And like, where do you see you need to be involved? And like you also mentioned earlier, what are the situations where you see like you stay in your lane and you stay away and you don't get involved in?
By far the most difficult job. a job that somehow gave me the idea to be, I don't know, so this feeling to be alone. I don't know how I can explain, because a lot of times, you know, wins are coming, we put the trophy somewhere. Things are doing bad. Usually people point the finger on the head coach. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, the words of Saras was really nice, talking about how difficult is that job, somehow miserable. The pressure, I mean, is so difficult, so difficult. I always think that, unfortunately, the coach, you know, bring the job at home all the day with the mind, thinking the player is. It helps me a lot that 2 years that I was assistant coach in Milano to really understand how difficult is that job. That is not true that you just finish to play, you know things about that job. That's a huge mistake. Even that you have to work, you have to study to be ready to make that job. And how much support you need. You need a coach that can be even few words before the game, you know, in the moment that, you know, there is a stress, just pass there and talk even maybe about something else, just to be, depends. You have to, that I think every coach is different. I always say this, there is no better coach or worse coaches. This is my opinion, my personal, but every coach is different. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of it's, at the end of the day, it's about relation with people. Coach know that I'm there. Must be a strong relation between us. Must be a proactive relation on things, supporting things, and this is nice. I mean, it's about relation. It's about relation. I really love it. I really love it. And I go back on what I said before. I always be very clear with the coaches that I work, and that always very good relation is they know that, you know, I'm there. If they need to ask or they need to go deeper, I will not step in some things. And, you know, in some clubs, there are not owners. Who's the owner? Some clubs has one owner, some clubs has a board of members. So it depends. It's important that position, you know, you have to work with the coach, with the top management on this, to be kind of team together. And this I really believe, because we ask sometimes to the players to be a team together, but the best example is what we give them.
Yes, this is key, I think, for every organization. That, like I also mentioned earlier, that the players, they don't only see, they feel. Like, players are very intuitive people as well, because they feel their body, they feel the situation, they
see everything. Yes. X-ray.
Yes.
They come, and that's why I say that the job of the coach is tough. You can have even a problem outside. When you step there, players are coming inside the court, X-ray, they understand everything. Yeah. Is a bad mood, is a good mood, the way, the body language is, so they see everything. They see everything. That's good.
But that's also one thing that I wanted to hear your opinion. I'm sure I think it's an obvious one, that the disagreement with the coach, because you can also you are a support system for the coach, for sure. But you also see that there is something that you disagree with, whether it's because you have your experience as a player and you have your experience at a high level. You see certain things that maybe you would address. How do you address it, and when do you address it to the head coach?
The when is something very important.
Yes.
The when is something very important. You cannot do it. Maybe you can do it not right away, because I personally really don't like after the game to go much on details in the wins and in the loss. I think, you know, when your heart still with good rates, your blood, you are excited for this, I think is not always the best moment to go on things. So maybe the day after, in front of a coffee in his office, I think there is a right moment. But that's a relation that has to be of communication. You build it with trust. Trust and respect are the two words that are not working only between relation of sport director of head coach, but in relation in our life. And I think that's can be even some critics, but even that is the way you do things, the way I I always like to make even question before. I never had the idea that I know things. This is my personal way that I do things. I like to be informed. I'm a very curious person, not only in sports, in everything. So it's nice to have a communication with the coach for many different things.
I think it's the key thing here is, like you said, is the relationship has to be built to the point where whenever you are having coffee with the coach and you are addressing or you're asking a question that could be challenging, that the coach or in that moment is also a friend, because you are a support system and you are trying to come to a solution, that he doesn't take offense to it. Sometimes coaches take a defensive position and, oh, you're trying to attack me, you're trying to challenge me. No, I'm not challenging you. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this disagreement that I see, or there's something that a small detail, maybe we could be doing something else. And then there has to be mutual respect from the position to position, but also from person to person.
Absolutely, yes. Person to person is the key at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because there is in some cases you see more your colleagues, your coaching staff, that your family on time, for sure. Trips here, we are part of the same family. We have to share things. That is not going to be always on basketball side. It's going to be even different things, and this make you understand, make you know the people better. All those are nice words, okay, because that's supposed to be the goal. Of course, if you are having a winning season, everything is easier.
Yeah,
everything is. When the season not so tough, you have as much as the other times to be very, very, how can I say, straight, very, very, very clean, the way you propose yourself without any misunderstanding. That's, I think, it's go back on the feeling that you have somebody that is next to you to be part of the things. Don't get too much, don't feel them too much responsible. I'm here to say sometimes my fault, I think is something that make you closer in things. And I have this idea, especially I got back because in different difficult moments of the season, especially when it's, let's say, not a good season, there are some moments that you have to take some decision to support the coach, and you have to show this to the players, to take away, to clear the floor for any misunderstanding. Or because, as we said, they can see everything. Nothing worse than to see some bad relation between management.
Absolutely. That's like you said, like the relationship that the person has to feel that the intent is good for you, for him, and for you, for the club. And when the intent is good, you will come to a solution when both people mutually agree that we're trying to help each other. And then at the end of the day, the picture that you present yourself to the players has to be in sync. They has to be in line, and the players, the roster, they have to see that there's a unity behind the team, and then they can do the same on the court. So let's talk about the players a little bit. What's your relationship with the players on a day-to-day basis when you see? There's like, obviously you always have different characters on the team that have different, you maybe even pay attention when you put the roster together of which characters can fit, which characters could not fit. But when you are having a conversation with a player, again, same as for the coach, how and when do you address what you see, what you like? Maybe something that you would like to address as well.
Let's start to say that you have to act as your character is. You can read a lot, you can see a lot of examples. I always say, if you're a coach and you like the way Bobby Knight was coaching, you have that. You need to have that character to cook. The same for Phil Jackson. So I'm going. Be yourself. Be yourself. First thing I think is this. Second, when I stopped to play, I was aware that memory is not so long. I can be remembered as an ex-player for some years. New generation of guys will not remember me. Will respect me somehow because I was a player. I can have, of course, I'm here. My daily job, I always say, my daily job here in the office, in this organization, The 90% I learned it from that open space that I call it the locker room for 20 years. Is there relation, how to support teammates, how to show the leadership. Inside the locker room, I think is my college. I didn't finish the college, but I let's say that's my college that really helps me. And sports on this really help you on the management work. So I try to see what suits more on me, and I saw that I thought that I have to be there again, but I don't have to be so close to the players. I'm not a big fan of the one that has to be always maybe go against what is the ideal idea of a sport director. But I like to be there when really a player needs me somehow, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that try to keep the rules and the way a club has to be run on somehow in the sports department. So I'm there, I see everything. I want to be aware of everything. I never miss practice. I never mix a game because, first of all, as I said before, I really like it, but I don't want to be always, there putting things, talking this and that. I think there is coaches staff that has to do this, strength conditioning, the physio is an important part, the doctors. I don't want to say I keep my distance somehow, but I'm there when I need to be there. And there are some moments that I need to be there.
But that's one thing also, you have to sometimes feel that the player needs you, because the player will not always say that he needs you. You have to see and feel from experience that, oh, I need to come up and give him support or talk to him or invite him for dinner and just like have a little human conversation. I
like to do it at the beginning of the year, to sit down, have a lunch with a player, talking about different things, needs, everything, giving tips, suggestion. How is the club? How is the president? How will be the season? And make you understand how happy we are and why we choose him and what we saw on him and what there is the things that maybe can get better on what we saw. At the end of the season, I think it's very important to have that closing, and during the season can happen. Usually happen when there is a moment that you have somehow to support or give him some advice or make you understand where we are. And that's the moments that usually I have these meetings with the players, of course, sometimes before the practice or there is any emergency stuff like this or things that we have to share and everything. But my job, especially in terms of results and in terms of performance, is always try to keep the highs low and try to keep the lows high. This is something that I always try to do on daily basis. In terms of performance of the club, of the team, and in performance of the individual, always try to see the bigger picture and what's going to happen next.
Anticipate.
Yeah.
Okay, ATOs, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Let's see.
I'm gonna shoot at you, and I will not interfere with any of my opinions. So we'll finish off. We'll patch the surgery this way. We'll finish off the surgery with some ATOs. All right. One advice from your older self to your younger self.
Okay. That's a good question. There is an answer on the basketball part that I see basketball change. Somehow I feel that I could make things better when I was playing. There is something I always carry. You could do better. I see basketball right now, how it's different, this and that. Of course, it was a different kind of basketball. There is some suggestion that I was trying to give myself to enjoy more the basketball part, to not be so much stress on the games and everything, to get it more light, the basketball experience. This is a suggestion that I gave to the ex-player when he was playing. And in terms of life, nothing, pretty happy of what I'm doing, what I'm experiencing and everything. I'm really happy, not so much suggestion. I really think that every choice that I make, I was pretty correct on things, and I always find a way to see the bright side of the things. Keep doing like this.
One part of the sports director job that nobody would ever be able to guess.
Making some rapid tests to players. It happened, and I'm proud to do this, to say this. It happened once that there was some worries, and we were somewhere we could not do. We had to do something quick to understand, at least, because everybody stay away, okay, with mask and everything. And
yeah.
I had this experience. I don't think they teach this on the course of management. Probably not, but
nursing.
It was okay.
Nursing.
Yeah.
Books or activities that you enjoy the most outside of basketball. What are some things?
Lately, less books. There are so good podcasts, to listen. That helps. In the past we were reading some books more, not so much lately. Netflix is big part, Synergy too, but podcast. Activities, trying to see things wherever I try to really see the things where I'm living. You always keep great memories when you're living in a new place. You want to see things, you want to experience people, a different culture and everything. I really like to do this with my wife.
There is a Sir Alex Ferguson quote from his book that I want to share, and you say he said a team should reflect the character of their manager, but manager he means coach, obviously, because in football is manager. But if you had the choice of what one characteristic would be your team should portray, what would it be?
I really believe on this. I believe in the characteristic of the club, and that's what the club has to choose the players with the characteristic that can match with the club. Every club has different characteristics. I think we really believe that hard work. That's typical from Kazan, Tatarstan people. Maybe not so fancy somehow as you could be in the capital, but hard work and people that not complain. This is something that I think match on the team that we have.
Hardest conversation that you have had as a sports director, whether it was with a coach, but there's no name to be named, but the hardest conversation you've had as a sports director and the lesson you learned from it.
I think one of the worst that was linked more with the general manager position is that sometimes you, for some reason, you have to, and one of the worst things that I, as a feeling, to fire people. I think there is nothing worse. There is nothing worse. And talking about sustainability, I think that we don't do enough to give value to the work of the people. This is something that I carry myself. In any position, you have to give value to the people with the right salary and everything. This is something that unfortunately in sports, and this is very pity because we see so many young guys that are doing master in sport business administration, that they really want to come in this beautiful world of sports that is really beautiful. But even in this case, you have to get better as a management, but you have even to give value to the work. So this was the tough decision that I had to make. The second one is sometimes when you have to act for the good of the team and try to make decision between things, especially in the tough moment, talking about players, cutting players, signing, and making the right decision for the good of the team. I think this is something else that it's tough, but it's part of this job.
Something that you believe in that other things is crazy.
What do you mean?
Something that you believe in and you do maybe on a daily basis. Let's call it like you wake up and you go and roll into the Tatarstan snow every morning. That other people would think is crazy. I wouldn't think it's crazy. I think it's good for your immune system, but something that you do that other people would think is crazy.
Okay, to have an Italian on in a team when you are working abroad, we are talking a lot. We think that we know a lot of things on this and that. That's Italian. So it's not easy, and maybe sometimes people working with me, maybe sometimes they are tired, or they are always thinking that I'm crazy and talking about different things. But for sure, being in the sport world, we have a lot of even routine on stuff. We and this is coming from our background, players to be there 1 hour and a half before, do your things, are still bringing this. My wife thinks that I'm crazy because the day of the game, I'm still eating my pasta. But I have to do it.
Routine is routine.
Routine is routine. I need my pasta. I need my pasta the day of the game. I know that I need it. Carbohydrate, the day of the game, I need it to perform. But what I'm gonna perform? The job is Kenan, Lorenzo, JB, Andrei. That's there to do the job. I'm not. But feel part of the team is even this.
Bravo. That's like you always shoot the free throws in the same way. That's why you also have the same lunch every day the same way. At game day, game day. So one last one is your favorite non-basketball Twitter follow.
Twitter man Jack, I follow him. Elon Musk, I follow him because anyway you can say everything, but you cannot say that he's not a genius somehow with what he's doing on his business and everything. But different things, a lot of things on. Okay, let's say that maybe the one that you unfollow Papa Francesco, the Pope. So different tweets. I'm not only basketball, but Twitter is something really important for my job. I really get a lot from there.
Yeah. How can people find you? How can people find you on Twitter? What's your handle?
I think Claudio.Colde.
Okay.
I think is this. And
Instagram.
I see a lot of young guys, a lot of people that they bring a lot. Now data is important, the way you see things. I really curious of guys that are bringing something. Young guys that they really like the scouting world. There is a lot out there that unfortunately some are involved, some other no, but there is a lot of that we can take from there and make us think even somehow different, out of the box. This is something that we always search.
Bravo. You survived the surgery?
Never stuck on your idea.
Did you survive your surgery?
Yes. I survived COVID, so it was nice. It was not unpleasant.
Okay, Claudio, I appreciate your time. Thanks for being so generous with your time. And Merry Orthodox Christmas to you and everybody around you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Bravo, Benas. You always make your homework, searching things, and that's why it's so pleasant to see your podcast. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All the best.
Please stay on. I have another question for you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.